All right, welcome in to another episode of the Butt and Breneman Show. You got to give a shout out to our sponsor, baby. We got to sponsor the Butt and Breneman Show. Dr. Pepper. Can't wait to pop a bottle, crack open a can, pour it over some ice. Be celebrating this weekend. Hopefully, maybe, I guess we'll be celebrating football this weekend because we got some great games. Adam, no time for pleasantries. We got to get into it. It's Nebraska. It's Michigan. Normally, I would tee you up, but I'll tee you up by saying, may I have the floor to introduce this because it is my alma mater.
Jake, you can have the floor. First of all, shout out Dr. Pepper. If you support the pod, we support you 100%. I love Dr. Pepper before this, but now I love him even more. But Jake, you are so excited for this Michigan-Nebraska game that you've been sweating all morning. We delayed this podcast because you were sweating and you had to go wipe it all off. Are you just that excited about it?
Yeah, I would love to say. I mean, that's definitely part of it for sure. You know, I get excited talking ball, but I also had the morning workout class, the post shower sweat, so it's a little bit of both. But
let's go. Tee it up, Jake. What do you got, man? Give us the analysis. What are you looking for?
I remember at media days when we were going through and I was talking Nebraska, I was talking Michigan with Rick Pizzo, and we pull up the schedules there at the pressers, and I circled this game for both teams, and I said this is going to be the most important game of both teams' schedules because it's going to be so revealing. And a lot of people were making fun of me, like, no way, Michigan's not going to be that good. Nebraska, we hear it every single year, and yet here it is, and it's exactly true. I'll start with the mental side. Because with Nebraska, it's true that most of the conversation has been mental for them. There's been this mental block, and yet it's a slow build. I think Matt Rule gave this analogy. It's been a program under construction. He's not going to rush it. He's going to build it the right way. And true construction does take time. And what we saw last year, get into a bowl game. I called the Nebraska-Wisconsin game when they finally got to 6. It's a bowl game. Such a special moment for the Husker fans. You've won your last 2 one-score games. You start off 3-0, and now the opportunity with Michigan being a big brand, the tight end Heinrich Haarberg talked about this. When you look at your schedule, you see the M there. This is not coming from me. I know you guys think I'm biased. That's Haarberg saying it. It's different. And the opportunity now to host Michigan, a ranked Michigan. Michigan is excited about their 18-year-old phenom, 5-star quarterback, Bryce Underwood. They're playing without their head coach. It's on the road. The Husker fans are going to be loud and raucous. They're going to be ready to go. This is a mental opportunity. Winning this game, just stick with me here for a second. If Nebraska wins this game, the conversation immediately becomes, one, they would be ranked, and now it becomes, oh my God, Nebraska, they're not just improving. It's a playoff type conversation. So before we get into the X's and O's, do you agree with me, or what's your analysis of just like the mental side, the emotional side of this matchup?
You think about the chance for Matt Rule to get that stamped win on his resume to prove what he's building here at Nebraska. And it's taken a couple of years to get this thing in the roster the way Matt Rule wants it, but this is the opportunity, and it's lined up perfectly on national television, everyone watching against a Michigan team who is good and would be a good win, but also has some vulnerabilities. It couldn't line up more perfect for Matt Rule right now. I really think that the interesting piece of this game is the Bryce Underwood 5-star phenom versus Dylan Raiola, the 5-star phenom, who's now played a year of college football and has developed a little bit. But you think about Bryce Underwood and what he can bring to this offense. I think the key, Jake, is let Bryce be Bryce. Let Bryce be the Cam Newton type player he can be. We saw that last week. Let him throw the ball on 1st and 2nd down. Let him get out of the pocket. He ran for 114 yards last week. A lot of those were not designed runs. They were him creating plays with his legs. You add on top of that, Michigan having success when they do go unbalanced, extra offensive linemen, running the football with Haynes behind that O-line. You get Marlon Klein back at tight end now, who's one of the best blocking tight ends in the country. So that combination of pound the rock mentality, but let Bryce be Bryce, I think lines up really well for Michigan. Then you look at Dylan Raiola, who is
let me jump in on this. Let's divide this because what we've seen this year too is especially young guys, Arch Manning on the road in Columbus, revealing. Bryce on the road in Oklahoma, revealing. Like it is a real thing because as a quarterback, it's communication. It's calling the play in the huddle. It's your offensive line being able to communicate who's the mic in blocking schemes. Because if you aren't on the same page, that's how you get free runners through, which leads to pressure, which leads to young guys making mistakes, which leads to negative plays. And checking at the line of scrimmage, checking plays, communicating with your receivers if you need to change a route concept. Road tests are huge. And Nebraska runs that 3-3-5 defense. It reminds me, it's very similar Michigan when they lost to TCU in the college football semifinals. It's a 3-3-5 defense, and you think on paper there's smaller bodies. We should be able to run all over this defense. But the issue is the identification because it's a cloudy, muddy picture. And for a young quarterback, Bryce, it's hard to see what type of coverage is Nebraska going to be in. Michigan's without a number of offensive linemen too. They've been beat up front, so the communication is going to be strained and tested. The plus side is you mentioned the Bryce Underwood legs. Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati ran all over Nebraska's defense. Nebraska's rush defense has struggled here to start the season. That's the chess match. If Michigan can run the ball, especially quarterback run, that's the game to me. That is how Michigan stays in this game. That's how Michigan wins this game. If Nebraska can stuff the run somehow, all of a sudden this becomes really interesting. So I wanted to add that note before you teed up on Raiola.
One of the stats I saw when researching for this game, Nebraska's allowed 5 yards per attempt to every running back they faced this year, to every starting running back. They give up 5 yards a pop to Michigan. It's going to be a long day.
Yes.
And then you allow Bryce Underwood to go play action and do those things where he can drop back and use his arm as a passer. One of the biggest pieces for Bryce Underwood is the balance between letting Bryce be Bryce, like I said, but also when you're on the road in an environment like this, in a game like this, you can't turn the football over. The way that Nebraska wins this game is forcing Bryce Underwood to make mistakes under pressure in the 3-3-5 defense, where you have the 5 defensive backs, the 3 safeties, one of them roaming in the middle of the field. When I call a game with a 3-3-5 defense, I have trouble identifying who the players are.
Yes.
Because you're like, is that the safety, is that the linebacker? How many defensive ends are there? You can't tell because they're just it's a mosh pit of different players. So Bryce is going to have to identify the defense really quick. His offensive line, the center, should help him with that. But for run game and pass game, it's not just pass, it's run as well. Making sure you can point the mic, making sure everyone knows who they're double teaming to. If the run's getting pushed one way, you have to check it the other way. That defense and identifying it quickly in a hostile environment will be challenging.
Yeah, Oklahoma had a number of free rushers. They were not just in the run game, but in the pass game. And that's where young quarterbacks make mistakes. A lot of Michigan fans or a lot of college football fans were messing with me like, oh, man, look at Bryce. You're all excited about Bryce's performance. It's Central Michigan, and I get it. But it was more about the game plan. It was more about Chip Lindsey saying, hey, we know we have a test against Nebraska next week. Let's open this up, and let's just say, hey, Bryce, regardless of the opponent, you lead us to victory. And he checked every box, made a few young quarterback mistakes, but he checked every box. And I think that confidence is going to be so important going on the road. I cut you off earlier. I completely agree about Dylan Raiola. This is why he was brought to Nebraska, a 5-star. I mean, the bloodline connections with Nebraska. He's Matt Rule's guy. He was brought to Nebraska to be the pilot to get them to the next level. This game is the ultimate litmus test to see if that time is now or if they're going to have to wait. So I cut you off. Want to give you the floor. Talk to me about Dylan Raiola.
Yeah. Raiola's played unbelievable so far this season in their first 3 games. I mean, it's almost 80% completion percentage, 8 touchdowns, hasn't turned the football over, made a ton of big time throws that not many quarterbacks in this country can make. At the same time, Raiola and Nebraska have struggled against ranked opponents. You look at Raiola's stats in ranked opponents' games. He's 0-3. He's thrown more interceptions than touchdowns in these games. And what happens against ranked opponents? There's normally more pressure. There's more guys in your face. There's different looks from the defense. Michigan's got one of the best defenses in the country. I think ranked top 10 right now in efficiency, maybe even higher than that. So this is going to be a huge test for Dylan Raiola. He's got to avoid turning the football over, which has been his issue in these major games.
He's been great this year, though. He's got no issues this year.
But Have you looked at the schedule for
I
Nebraska so
understand.
far?
8 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, though. That's you're checking
It
every
says
box
something.
at that point.
Exactly. But you haven't faced a defense. They played Cincinnati, Akron, and someone else. I can't remember. If I can't remember them, it means they're probably a smaller school.
Yeah.
But
Holy Cross,
Michigan,
I believe.
for Michigan's credit, they have that game against Oklahoma where Bryce Underwood has been in that situation in a huge game. I'm excited to see how Dalen Raiola responds. I'm excited to see his improvement this offseason. This is really where we're going to see it. The first test this year against a ranked opponent for him. Can he get past those mistakes that have haunted him in these big games before?
He's looked like a completely different quarterback with Dana Holgerson as his offensive coordinator. And I really felt strongly that that was one of the key hires of the entire offseason was to lock down Holgerson as the full-time play caller because Holgerson has a history of developing quarterbacks. Dylan Raiola is clearly talented and oftentimes with the guy that has like true raw talent, it's about getting in the right system. And surrounded by the right personnel. And that's what Matt Rule has done for his young five-star is surrounded him with the right talent and with the right play caller. And the big test here now is what does he do with pressure in his face? Because Wink Martindale is going to bring pressure. I think the turnover storyline is key. Michigan is number 2 in the Big Ten in forced turnovers. They forced a ton of turnovers this year. And Nebraska is number 3 in avoiding giving the ball away. That's another sign of Matt Rule's progress is Nebraska would just lose games. They'd turn the ball over. This year they haven't done it. Special teams. I'm going to go on a side tangent here. I think special teams for Nebraska, they have the number 1 ranked special teams unit in all of college football. So great job by Matt Rule. But what does Dylan Raiola do when Wink Martindale gets into this, his pressure looks? And what Michigan has done is take Jay-Sean Barham, who was their stud middle linebacker, a former 5-star himself, and they put him on the edge. And he lines up across from Derek Moore, who's a day 2 edge himself, and they have been just sending blitz packages and pressures, and teams have really struggled to identify who's coming, let alone execute the blocking schemes. It was a tale of two halves for Michigan's defense. Against Oklahoma in the first half without Barham, struggled to get pressure. In the second half, had a ton of success bringing pressure. So how does Nebraska's offensive line hold up? Can Dylan Raiola get the ball out quick? He's been great in the quick game. And then can they hit explosives against Michigan's defense when they do protect? Or is Michigan in a great position to make plays? So this is a fun chess match. So many storylines. Rod Moore, Michigan safety, who's been beat up. And you know how it is with those knees, man. Frustrating journey for him, but it sounds like he's going to play this weekend. So I can't wait to see him back on the field. You got score predictions? You know how this goes. We got to do score predictions.
Yeah, I'm taking Michigan 24-20. And I think Bryce Underwood plays well in this game. To your point about Dylan Raiola, I think Dana Holgerson has Raiola playing with ultimate confidence right now. He's turned him loose, told him to trust his arm, told him to trust that talent. You can see it in the way Raiola is ripping the ball down the field. But ultimately, Michigan's got too much talent on defense. The pressure looks are too much. And I think Michigan's able to run the football in this one and put Bryce Underwood in really good situations.
Man, this is going to be this is everything you love about college football. This is a litmus test for Michigan. You know, hey, was that Oklahoma game a fluke? Was it a poor game plan, or are you really genuinely ready to be back amongst one of the Titans and the best in the conference? Road test will be really revealing for your young quarterback and without your head coach. I'm going to take Michigan 27-20. I think there's some field goals kicked in this game. Again, special teams is going to play a big factor. Turnovers will play a big factor. Bryce Underwood, can he avoid the young kid mistake? I mean, he had 2 throws against Central Michigan that just were like complete outliers. Like, man, what are you doing
what are you
there?
doing?
He has to avoid those ones. You don't want to lose games on the road. He has to avoid doing that, but it's easier said than done. I got Michigan 27-20, but man, I can see this going a bunch of different ways. All right, tee up
Jake,
here.
I love Biff Poggi.
Great.
He's awesome. Do you think, Jake, not to dive too much into Michigan, do you think that there's any correlation between Biff Poggi being the interim coach last game and Bryce Underwood playing a little bit more loose and free? Do you think the two are correlated at all?
You know, it's a good question. I think more of it is I just think Michigan came out of that Oklahoma game and said, okay, and I don't think this was just Biff. I think because Sharon was there throughout all his
through the
suspension
week.
started last
Yeah.
Friday at midnight. Sharon was part of game prep and part of
Good
practice
point.
in game
Yeah.
planning and even laid out a plan for this week as well. And I just think Michigan looked at that Oklahoma game and said, man, we didn't give ourselves a chance. Like they were running into 8-man boxes with only 5 blockers, and they just don't have the offensive line to do that right now. And they finally said, all right, let's just figure out what we have in Bryce. We think we know, but let's let him do it. And now it's what Biff said after the game. He said, yeah, we thought we'd take the air out of it against Oklahoma. We will never do that again. We're gonna put the ball in Bryce's hands. So I think that's what you're gonna see this weekend. And Biff's awesome. You know, his son was my college roommate, one of the best men in my wedding. Great family, great person. The players love him, so he'll play a big factor. All right, another playoff game. I mean, this is literally a playoff mock game. Indiana, Illinois. So if there's any of you SEC fans sneaking in and watching our podcast, yes, you guys don't know this. You're probably not used to seeing this. Indiana and Illinois are both legitimately complete football teams. Yes, that same Illinois team that beat South Carolina last year returned basically the same roster, head coach, both coordinators. They are here and ready. Indiana, I think they have a better roster this year than they even did last year. The offensive line looks great. They're running for over 300 yards a game right now. I understand the opponent. Man, how excited are you for this game? What are you looking for?
Indiana, Illinois, it's an epic matchup. This game could, and I'll say will, determine a playoff spot in the Big Ten. I think some people, including AP voters, have forgotten what Indiana returned going into this season. But a lot of people wrote off Indiana. A lot of people have been calling Illinois this year's Indiana, right? And I think Illinois is like, wait a second, we got our own team. And Indiana says, don't count us out. This is going to be a classic matchup. On the Illinois side, I've been so impressed with Luke Altmaier. You look at what he did against Duke. Duke put him in some tough spots early in that game. They brought pressure. They were behind the sticks a couple times, and Altmaier did not turn the football over. He stayed calm, and he kept his team in a great position. Eventually, Illinois got a bunch of turnovers and gave Altmaier short field, and they dominated that game, as you know, blew out Duke in the second game of the year. That's the Luke Altmaier that we need to see against Indiana. Indiana's averaging 7 yards a carry, Jake. I mean, they're running the football as well as anyone in the country right now. If they average 5, 6, 7 yards a carry against Illinois, Indiana will control this game. So to me, it's Indiana's offensive line, those running backs. Can they roll? And if Indiana can control the ball on the ground, Indiana will win this game, because then Luke Altmaier has to win the game and be Superman, which is not where he should be if Illinois wants to play at their very best. If Illinois can make Mendoza win the game with his arm and throw the ball to beat them, then we have a real ball game. And I like Illinois in this game. After watching everything, watching Altmaier, I think Illinois' defense, I think they brought back some good pieces. That front is strong and stout. I like Illinois in this one.
Yeah, man. I just think these are two complete football teams. Like last year was not a fluke. I think Indiana is this year's Indiana, and Illinois is this year's Illinois. I just think both coaches have done a great job of building their teams the right way. Where there was deficiencies and holes last year, I think both coaches went out and found ways to reload and add key pieces. And these are true football teams. And it's going to be a revealing matchup. I agree with you. Indiana has been able to, they've done whatever they wanted running the football, but this is a much bigger test. Illinois, number 5 in the Big Ten in rush yards allowed per game. That's number 13 in run defense in all of the FBS. I have some key stats for you here when I was looking into it. So what does Illinois' defense do? You know, what Illinois wants to do is they're going to pressure you and play man coverage. They want to force you to get rid of the ball and force you to get rid of the ball into tight windows. Illinois is blitzing quarterbacks at the highest rate in the Power 4, Bren. Over 60% pressure rate on defense. They also have the 6th highest rate in the Power 4 in man coverage. So there it is. There's Illinois' defense. Pressure, play press man outside, and dare you to throw into tight windows. Mendoza is a stud, but PFF grades these things, and I know it's a limited sample size, but when facing the blitz, Mendoza is ranked 46th in PFF passing grade, okay? When he hasn't been blitzed, he's the 2nd highest passing grade in the FBS. So there it is. Like, Mendoza has been great with a clean pocket. He's also been great. He's the third best passing grade when throwing against zone. When he hasn't been pressured and when he's throwing into zones with his receivers, he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. When he's been pressured, he's mid, about 46th in the PFF grade. And when facing man, 144th PFF grade in college football. So that includes backups that he's graded below. I know it's a small sample size, but that is concerning to me because Illinois is going to pressure him and force him to throw into tight windows. I like Indiana's receivers. I like Surratt. I like
Yeah.
Cooper. I like their running backs. But so far this season, that's been the even with the small sample size, that's where Mendoza has struggled. Do you have any concerns or what are you thinking there on the outside for Mendoza and how he can attack Illinois' defense?
Yeah, you make a great point about the Illinois style of defense because that's what they're going to do in this game is they're going to load the box, play man to man, and force Indiana to throw the football. So to me, it's Indiana getting Mendoza the ball in the perimeter and making the defense run sideline to sideline. You got to make Illinois' defense have to run and cover and tackle in space, 52 and a half yards or whatever the heck it is of the field. You got to make them tackle and run in space and cover that entire ground. You don't want to get into a game where you're running the ball on first and second down. Now you're third down and 9. You can't run a screen pass because you got to pick up 9 yards and you're having to take shots down the field. Now you got pressure. Mendoza got a blurry picture. Everyone's in his face. I want to see quick completions in this game for Indiana. I want to see screen passes on the perimeter, and I want to see this Illinois defense, these linebackers, these defensive linemen, not have time to get to Mendoza. So you really frustrate the defense, take them out of the game, take the D-line out of it, get the ball in the perimeter, and let those playmakers, Surratt on the outside for Indiana, make plays with their legs and the ball in their hands.
Yeah. On the flip side too, man, with Altmaier, one of the more experienced quarterbacks in college football, he's taken major strides every year, both in his passing ability, his leadership. I mean, he's the heartbeat of that team. If I had any concern, Hank Beatty looks like he's the true go-to guy replacing Pat Bryant last year. But the only concern I'd have is Illinois' offensive line. Duke was able to get pressure last year when Altmaier struggled. It's when teams were able to pressure him. Kamara is one of the best pass rushers in college football. Fisher, an elite linebacker. And the question is, especially on the road, can you run the ball? I think whichever team can more consistently run the football, that'll bode well for them. But Indiana's defense, going back to last year, has been one of, if not the best run defense in all of college football. So it's the same story that you were talking about with Illinois football. If Illinois can't run it, they're going to be in third and longs, and then their offensive line is going to have to pass protect, and it's going to be a big challenge for Altmaier to consistently beat that. But fun matchup. I love both offensive coordinators, Shanahan for Indiana and Barry Lunny Jr. for Illinois. I think both those guys are phenomenal play callers. Score prediction in this game, what are you going with?
If there's one thing that gives me faith in Illinois and Luke Altmaier, it's that I believe when Luke Altmaier has the football in his hands, he won't turn it over. No matter what happens, I believe he won't turn the football over. He hasn't turned it over this year. Didn't turn it over against Duke. I really think that he'll protect the ball, and that will be the most important piece in this game. They'll win the field position battle because of it. It's funny, Jake, as we talk about all these stats, and they're great stats, and I look at them too on PFF, all these, it all comes back to the same stuff. Why do teams pressure all the time? Because quarterbacks are usually worse under pressure. Why you got to run the football. You can't turn the football over. That's what this thing will come down to, and it's the reason I'm taking Illinois 28-23. I think Illinois' ability to protect the football and generate passing efficiency down the field will offset Indiana's defense and Indiana's ability to run the ball.
Man, it's the same storyline, for Illinois, I think, as Nebraska, which is if you win this game, you look at their schedule and you're looking ahead and you're saying, okay, you are who we thought you were, and you are a legitimate playoff contender. Going on the road and winning against a tough opponent is hard to do. For Indiana, I remember last year we were talking so much about their schedule. This year's schedule is much, much more brutal. So I would consider this a must-win if you're Indiana, especially at home. I'm going to lean towards Indiana winning a close one. This is a toss-up. I'll say 24-23. Okay, that's how tight I'm calling this one. Yeah, I'm going to take Indiana. I'm going to take Indiana, but if I wake up and in either team, you could sell me
Yeah.
wins this. I think Indiana wins a close one. This is going to be one of the games of the year, in my opinion. Just competitive teams.
Yeah. Jake,
Can't wait to
it's
watch.
funny. You can tell Brett Bielema knows he has something. He's got a little bit of swagger as he's walking
Yeah,
around, and he's pretty similar to Kirk Signetti. Like
yeah.
they're kind of similar in their demeanors and how they'll talk about their teams. They're not afraid to tell everyone their team's good. This is going to be fun to watch. If Illinois can become, well, they already are a top 10 in the country right now. If they can become that story, everyone's following Illinois. They win this game. The hype train is it's off. It's off the
Yeah.
rails in Champaign.
I know what you mean, though. They are a top 10 team, but they probably don't have the national respect. I think
Yeah.
people are still thinking about Illinois, 10, 20 years ago. Like they don't have the net winning this game just further increases the national respect for both teams. And that's why you play it. All right. We told you about our sponsor, Dr. Pepper. What we have is the Dr. Pepper Fansville Hype Man moment. Some rivalry games on the West Coast this weekend. Who's your Fansville Hype Man this weekend, Brent?
My Fansville hype man this weekend is the Washington Huskies. They got the Apple Cup against Washington State, and it's a chance for Washington to start the year 3-0, to make a dent here in the early schedule and get ready for Big Ten play. I mean, I like what Jed Fish has done. Damon Williams, their quarterback, is playing really good football. I was looking at some of their stats leading into this game. I mean, their points per play is off the charts. Their efficiency on offense has been really good. This Jed Fish system at offense is looking like what we expect from a Jed Fish offense. And I think Washington's been a team leading into this season that no one's really talked about. They replaced a lot of talent. It's been a complete rebuild from 2 years ago at Washington, and Jed Fish has done a really good job. I mean, I think Washington throttles Washington State. I got like 42-17, something like that is my prediction. But I'm excited to see how Washington plays the rest of the year, and they'll be 3-0 after this game. And then a lot of hype. The fans in Fansville will be excited for some Washington football.
Yeah, man. I mean, the rivalry games are what makes college football so special. I think Jonah Coleman is the best back that no one's talking about. I think he's been the best back in the Big Ten Conference. He's been great. Obviously, Damon Williams is phenomenal. Ohio State's on a bye week this week, but they're playing Washington after this weekend. And Matt Patricia said that Damon Williams looks like Kyler Murray to him. So big time respect. That's a $250 million man, Kyler Murray, in terms of career earnings. So. Denzel Boston's been phenomenal, so that's gonna be fun. I'm gonna stick with the Oregon State rivalry. I'm on the call, can't wait. So my Fansville hype man moment is gonna be the Oregon Ducks football fans. It's a 12 p.m. Pacific local kickoff time. It's one of the longest standing rivalries in all of college football. Very similar to Michigan State. It's the battle for bragging rights within the state. Just about a 45-minute bus ride from Oregon State down into Autzen to play the Ducks. I know Oregon State's been struggling this year. Oregon has been the exact opposite. They've not been struggling at all. But the rivalries, anything can happen. I remember in 2013, I was in Michigan. We were unranked, playing a top 5 Ohio State football team that was ranked, and no one gave us a chance. 42-41, it came down to a 2-point conversion. So magic can happen in these rivalry games. And we got 2 great ones up there in the Pacific Northwest.
Even better in 2013 was the Michigan Penn State game.
Oh my God, the triple overtime.
Overtime, walk-off touchdown by Bill Belton at Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny for me. I'm working for the Big Ten Network, even though they traumatized me because they play the Big Ten Classics, and I feel like my entire career is Big Ten Classics of which games that I lost, against Ohio State and Penn State. So, no, there's going to be some fun ones this weekend, man. Rivalries are what make college football great. Before we leave, I want to give you the floor, man. Penn State on a bye week, hosting Oregon at the night game. Whiteout next week. Give me the State of the Union. What's going on there in Happy Valley?
3-0, got the job done the first 3 weeks. It wasn't always pretty, but
are they holding anything back?
I think I think so. I mean, the first 3 games, I do think, knowing that you have Oregon, which is probably the biggest game of the year, in the whiteout, top team in the country, one of the top teams in the country, you don't want to show them too much on offense or defense to allow them to prepare for what they're about to see in the whiteout, an incredible environment. So I do think they're holding a little bit back, but I want to see Drew Aller rip the football down the field. I want to see him play with some confidence. I want to see this offense move people off the line of scrimmage. I was listening to James Franklin's press conference. He was saying, like, this isn't a bye week. This is a work week for Penn State. It's just that they get 2 weeks to prepare for Oregon. And I think, listen, I know coaches don't determine the schedule. James Franklin's very involved in everything that goes on at Penn State. This was strategic on their part to say, hey, let's have 3 easy games, have a bye week, and go into playing Oregon. I'm excited to see how it plays out. Let's see if it was the right call. I think there's an argument to be made that you love to have a good team on the schedule before you play Oregon and not come out of the gates. And think about the speed, Jake, between Villanova and Oregon.
Yeah.
I mean, could you have a bigger difference in what you're going to see on on your home field between in a 14-day time frame? I mean, it's going to be a massive difference. I can't wait for the game. It's a good time to be a Big Ten guy, Jake. I mean, I did a video on it last week that the college football playoffs running through the Big Ten this season. I mean, it is it's going to be fun to see how it all plays out. And Penn State, Oregon, Michigan, Ohio State, all the Illinois. How can you forget? Indiana's maybe in the mix at some point. It's going to be fun.
USC. I mean, USC
looks
hosting
good.
Michigan State. They look great. So, gosh, man, I know SEC fans like to remind us what happened a decade ago. Who's the one living in the past now, man? I think the Big Ten is positioned to succeed these past 2 years, this year, and going forward. So it's a good time to be a Big Ten fan, a college football fan, and a fan of the Butt and Breneman show. That was a great episode.
Jake, I can't wait to hear you on the call for Oregon State, man. That's a big game. I'm excited to tune in.
Where are you this weekend?
I'm at Army CBS. Gonna be a fun one.
How is it calling
Army just beat Kansas State.
Oh yeah. How is it calling those games?
Oh, I love it. West Point's awesome. Service Academy football means a little bit more than any other game. You got guys that are going to be, cadets that are going to be serving in the military. So I love it. Respect. I do all 5 Army's home games this year. So that's awesome. It's a fun time, and it's good when Army's good too. It's fun that they're a good program.
Is there a dress code when you show up for meetings? Like, do you have to wear anything specific? You can't come in sweatpants, can you?
No, I wear a button-down shirt and slacks.
You're a professional.
I'm a pro.
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah. All right, man. Great to see you. We'll see you next week. We'll see you guys. Thanks for tuning into the Butt and Breneman show. Going to be a fun weekend. Keep the comments going. We love hearing from you guys, and we'll see you on the show next week.